what causes the shit to hit the fan is they say nobody stays out that long and turns down a woman.
You know what that means, Jay? He likes the
Well, that's what I was saying, because I'm sitting there watching it, and I was like, that's made sense of the 90s, but I turned to Christy, I was like, he could be gay.
Yeah.
What if he's gay? Like, I'd be like, no, I don't want another mouth to feed. Like, if I went to a, I don't know, if I was out by myself and someone's like, oh, here, take our son, I'd be like, no.
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm just going to go back on my boat. No one stays out that long and turns down a man. I'm like, well, maybe. Like, welcome to A Cast with No Name. We're your hosts. I'm Jay.
And I'm Matt.
This is episode 51. This episode, we skinny dip into the question, is Waterworld really that bad? But first, don't forget to visit our website, acastwithnoname.com, where you can listen to our episode library, comment on episodes, write to our email, and thank you for listening. And if you enjoy the show, please leave us a review or rate us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. This will help our show find new listeners. So, with all that crap out of the way,
Yeah.
Waterworld came out in 95.
It did. Did you ever watch it growing up?
Yes. It was one
Like
of those.
on TV, or did you rent it?
I think we had rented it, and I think we had bought it on pay-per-view or rented it on pay-per-view.
Gotcha.
Because we
Or you had to actually call the number and...
No, this was we had DirecTV.
Ooh, fancy.
Yes, and we were early pirates to where I guess it really wasn't pirating; it was just recording. So we would rent something on pay-per-view, and then we'd record it on a VCR, and then we could watch it whenever we wanted. So
yeah.
But yeah, so I don't know. I can't remember if I saw this in theater or not.
I never did.
I want to say it's highly likely that we would have seen it in theaters, or maybe my parents saw it in theaters and then they rented it again or something. But,
Right.
But yeah, so I can't remember if I've seen it in theaters or not, but I did watch it quite a bit growing up.
Yes, I watched it on TBS, like constantly.
Okay.
It was one of those movies that was always on. But yeah.
Right next to Shawshank Redemption.
Right after Shawshank. It's the double feature. Yeah. So, Jay, in a world
Yes.
where the polar ice caps melt, Universal Pictures presents Kevin Costner in Mad Max 2, Waterworld.
Get wet. Yes. So I don't remember that voiceover at the very beginning.
You don't? I do.
Yeah.
It's the thing I always remember.
I always remembered the Universal logo turning into like just
and then panning
zooming in and just kind of melting. Yeah, I did not remember that voiceover because as soon as that happened again, I was like, "Wow, that's."
I remember
weird.
watching this movie for the first time and thinking, "Could that really happen?
Mm-hmm.
Are we on course of doing this?"
Which to keep the conspiracy theorists at bay, if the polar ice caps did melt, water would only rise, I think, a few hundred feet. It wouldn't.
Yeah,
it completely engulfed the entire world.
You mean it wouldn't go over the Himalayas and?
No, it just leave
Denver, which is a mile above sea level.
Yeah, just a little bit. Mount Everest would turn into Hawaii.
Exactly. Yeah, and everything would be all fertile. It'd be nice. Yeah.
Yeah, because
rock,
just turns to
plants
dirt.
just grow. Yes.
Within a span of 500 years.
Yep.
So yeah, we get a great introduction at the beginning, and if you're not aware, Waterworld takes place in the future. It's a sci-fi-ish movie, and it's post-apocalyptic, and humans have evolved, not in the physical sense, but more of the societal sense, to survive on water.
Yep. And as you can imagine, they all get along swimmingly.
Yeah.
Woo! Yeah.
And you have some people that just live by themselves, kind of sailing around the world, and then you have some that are kind of in a smaller town society that are built out on atolls, and then you have another faction called the Smokers that are just kind of more or less pirates.
Pretty much.
And the movie is more or less follows a character played by Kevin Costner called the Mariner, who is a evolved version or a mutated version of a human to where he had developed gills and webbed feet. And
just unbelievably handsome.
Yep.
And stoic and all that is man.
Mm-hmm. Back when receding hairlines was awesome.
It was fine.
It was perfectly
fine. Chest hair was fine.
And he comes across a lady and her adoptive daughter pretty much to where they think that there exists dry land, and then they kind of go off and search for it.
Right. Apparently no one has seen dry land in anyone's lifetime.
Ever. Yeah.
Yes.
It's kind of it's a myth, and some people don't believe it exists. Some people do believe it exists. And so that's
the movie. Waterworld.
Yeah, that's Waterworld.
That's what it is.
If you haven't seen it, let's quick recommendations, and then
sure, I recommend you see it.
Yeah,
I enjoy Waterworld.
I recommend you see it too.
I like it.
Yes.
So I watched Mad Max, which obviously this movie's heavily inspired from, and I enjoy Waterworld more than The Road Warrior, I must say.
Yeah, and yeah, it's a more recent movie than it's
sure.
a bigger budget, definitely.
Sure.
But this movie kind of has a reputation of one being a bomb, and which it wasn't technically a bomb. I think it technically made money. It didn't make as much money as what I think the studios wanted, but it has a reputation of just being bad.
Yes.
And it's like, oh, it's a crap movie, blah, blah, blah. But rewatching it, I mean, the reviews of it just kind of give you guys a sense as far as what people think. On Rotten Tomatoes, it's at 45%. And
it's a little rough.
Yeah. And
it's a bit rough.
Of course, this movie came out before Rotten Tomatoes. So
yeah.
Those reviews are made by people who went back and put in a review of shit. Probably just to kind of maintain the status quo. Well, this is what people thought about this movie.
Exactly.
And then on IMDb, it's 6.3 out of 10.
That's low.
Yeah.
That's
and then
low.
you have 56% on Metacritic.
That's low, too.
Yeah. And I think
it gets a bad rap.
Yeah. It does get a bad rap.
Reason.
And I think it's more of mob mentality with this movie.
Yeah.
To where you probably, when it was released, you had critics kind of slamming this movie. And I think a lot of you had the mob mentality / Emperor's Clothes effect to where everyone said, oh, yeah, it's a bad movie. But I think if you ask a lot of people, at least people who are our age, that saw it when they were a kid, they probably look at it favorably.
Sure.
I know Christy likes this movie. I was talking about this with my best friend, and he loves this movie.
It's great.
And part of it could just be nostalgia, looking at it through that kind of lens.
Mm-hmm.
But after rewatching it, it does not get the hate. It does not deserve the hate that it gets on a consistent basis when people talk about this.
Like when we talked about Cutthroat Island a couple months back, I can understand why people wouldn't necessarily enjoy that movie all that much, but still, I thought it got a bad rap. It's on par with, like, if you look up the Rotten Tomato score of Cutthroat Island, it's probably like around 30-ish%, so not that far off from Waterworld.
Mm-hmm.
And the Metacritic scores and all that stuff probably aren't that far off.
Yep.
But
it's nowhere close.
Waterworld's way better than Cutthroat Island.
Waterworld is a better movie.
Yes.
Yes. And Cutthroat Island, you could watch it and you could it had problems with pacing.
Mm-hmm.
It had some problems with tone, which this movie does too. But overall, I mean, the editing is great in this. I think.
Oh, yeah.
Because they cut out quite a bit. Originally, this movie came in at about 3 hours, and they cut out about 45 minutes of it because they had concerns. Kevin Costner recently released Wyatt Earp before this movie, and that was about a 3-hour-long movie, and it did not do well. It bombed, and they thought, oh, because it was such a long movie, let's cut it, let's make it shorter. So they actually cut out quite a bit out of this movie to make it work, and I think it still does work. It doesn't, I think, go into depth on some of the mythological elements of this movie or some of the background, but it's still a cohesive film from start to finish. And there may be some bits and pieces you would want to find out more about, but it doesn't. I don't think it diminishes this movie so much so that it would be a 45% or a 50%.
Right. No, if your goal is to make a fun, action-packed adventure movie, I think they succeeded in the cut that was released in theaters. For sure.
And especially with the stuff that comes out now, this movie has a hell of a lot more thought put into it than what a lot of other sci-fi movies nowadays. I mean, just strictly from the world building, which I think is one of the best things about this movie, is you can tell either production design or the writer or just the filmmakers in general really sat down to figure out how this world works and what are some of the devices and some of the things that people are going to have to create, and how does those mechanisms work. And this is all just physical things like doors opening for floating atoll and recycling bodies so that way you don't know. I mean, they just say recycle.
By the way, what was that shit that they were putting the bodies in?
I'm something that probably decomposes them. Maybe it makes a fertilizer, makes something. That's what I mean. They didn't go into it, but
yeah,
I mean that's what I figured.
They didn't just toss them into the sea and float on out.
Yeah. So I imagine it was probably some kind of fertilizer or something to where they were able to use it as bait or chum or something for fish, because there wasn't a lot of vegetation, so it's not like they were using it for manure or for plants or anything, but my guess is probably more for feeding animals in the water that they could then eat.
What was that? When he gets the chits to buy hydro, is it just electrolyte spiked water?
No, it's just
water.
It's just water. They just called it hydro. Just sound cool.
Oh.
I feel like because
he had that like filtration in his own pee.
Yeah.
So it's just he could.
Which
if you have that, then why would you spend all your chits on hydro?
Well, he didn't spend it on hydro. He spent it on the shelves, and then he spent it on the tree, the little tomato plant, or did he buy hydro?
He did a couple shots. The other guy, Nord, was upset because he didn't get a glass from Kevin Costner, the Mariner.
Well, I mean, if you're drinking your piss, I imagine there's probably an aftertaste.
It's not the same. Yeah.
And I don't know how he went about filtering it because from what
there's a crank, Jay.
Yeah. Well, there's a crank. But it kind of went through a bunch of tubes, and my understanding is that it kind of sat in a vessel until the water from the urine evaporated and the condensation kind of filtered down another pipe.
I missed the whole heating aspect of this and how it evaporated.
I think it was just in the glass with the sun.
Okay.
Being out in the open.
All right.
Kind of like how you used to some people make sun tea. They put water and tea bags and they just leave it out in the sun, which doesn't evaporate anything. It's just that's how it brews. But to that effect, it just uses the power of the sun to kind of evaporate urine. That's how I would imagine how it worked. Maybe I'll try it this summer for a little science experiment.
Yeah. What are you guys doing?
Leave it sit out there for a month and then you take a sip. Nope. That's still piss.
That's piss. It's pungent.
But I mean, you had that. They had thought process going into that. The way his ship worked. It wasn't a catamaran. It was a trimaran or something
like that. That boat was badass, I must say. What was that thing that was spinning? I was like, what is that? Like with the three.
I don't know if that was kind of like a windmill thing to where wind could rotate it or he could lock it. My understanding is that it was a mechanism that he could lock with gears, but he could unlatch the gear and it would just spin. And as it spun, it would power the raising and lowering of the sails. The sails.
Okay.
That was my understanding because it kind of looked like just a vertical windmill or like some kind of pinwheel,
right?
Almost.
Man, this Mariner was a highly advanced mechanical engineer, I must say.
Yes. He read a lot of books from swimming down to the surface.
Yep.
And
it's a pretty badass boat, like the way it operates and everything. It's cool.
Yeah, it's very functional.
Yeah.
You feel like he designed it and built it as that character designed it and built it for his uses. Like he has shortcuts as far as transversing his boat, swinging from one end. Like he knows how everything works, and that's why the world building is just everything was very well thought out.
Yeah.
Even with the smoker stuff, and I mean, granted, if you think about it longer than
5 minutes,
ammunition. How does ammunition still work after 500 years and the amount of humidity that's Yeah.
Right. Well, where do they get all the metal to
Yeah.
cast all these bullets and everything? And
how's the metal still exist with all the salt in the air from all the
exactly how do they refine the oil to create gasoline? How does
Which they do make a reference to refining. So when they were looking in the pit and they have cheap lame version Burgess Meredith in the oil, and he's like looking up and he's like, oh, it's at 4.5 feet, and they're like, well, we can refine for it was a throwaway word, but they mention it to where they do have a process of refining oil for gasoline.
I was trying to think of how much time had elapsed since the ice caps melted, and I'm like, okay, so if we've evolved some human beings to develop gills behind the ears, this is tens of thousands of years.
Yeah, nope, 500 years. So, which is why they say mutant. So, and maybe they threw that in there to where it wasn't. Although I think the older guy that kind of, he was in Green Mile, played the French.
Michael Jeter.
Yeah, Michael Jeter.
Yeah, the balloon dude.
Which Michael Jeter may have just been saying it as not necessarily a reason, but just kind of a way to put into words to where, you evolved to have gills, kind of a thing, to where maybe it was just a mutation of something,
right?
That kind of accelerated it. But it definitely wasn't enough to where, because I feel like a long time would have had to have happened to advance to get gills, but yeah, so I think it's only like 2,500, like 2005 or 2,500 century is I think is when this is supposed to take place.
Yeah, and all these questions come along like how do they grow plants? I mean, you need dirt. You just can't keep reusing the dirt over and over again because of nutrients. You need fertilizer, and where do the seeds come from? I mean, if water is so scarce, how much are you using to drink versus watering the plants? All that
piss
stuff.
on it, but too much nitrogen, you're going to kill it. But you need a little bit of nitrogen.
So just don't think about it too much. Just go with it.
There's a lot of stuff which, but everything else they kind of thought through.
Yeah.
Again,
I love the world building when it comes to like interacting with people, like on the open sea.
Yeah.
Those scenes are pretty cool.
Yep. And I have that. That was the first thing I wrote down was the personalities of the inhabitants. Some are very unusual, and they feel realistic. So, I mean, his first interaction is with the guy when you get introduced to the mariner, Kevin Costner's character. He's underwater, and you can see someone take some of the limes off of his plant, and he meets another sailor. They have that interaction, fairly normal, fairly like congenial, as far as friendly-ish, to where they have pleasantries. There's some kind of custom that they share, or at least social norms that they follow. Then you find out, he kind of screws him over, and then so he screws him over in return. But when he gets to the atoll, you interact with more people. You have more people that are confident. You have some people to where he's like kind of selling the dirt, and some ladies just kind of like goes up and looks at shit that's dangling from his clothes, to where some people just don't have any kind of social niceties about them. They're kind of more feral. And so you have some humans that are feral. You have some people that have been such alone for such a long time that they're just completely off their meds, more or less.
Sure.
And but you have that variety of people who've been able to survive in this world and the effect that it has on them, kind of a thing. And obviously you have the people that are more grounded and more, I guess, quote unquote, normal, as far as comparing them to people today, are people that have had, outside of Kevin Costner, either had to have a responsibility of raising a child, or they have a higher purpose, that they're like a goal that they're kind of going after, that they can focus their time and energy on, or a sense of purpose in a society. For example, like the peacemaker, to where he's kind of like the sheriff of the town, and he's kind of more or less the even-headed person, where everyone else is just kind of off their rockers.
Yeah, I think that's the only drawback I see in that atoll scene is that he said, "Yeah, you're all dying." I just human nature. I would see that the entire society in that atoll just attacking Kevin Costner and killing him and stealing all of his shit.
Which I think, and this is the other thing I have. I think because the things that it does very, very well is the world building, the personalities of the inhabitants, and the characters. I feel like are very well defined. Dennis Hopper, I think, is excellent.
Yeah,
He's probably the best thing in this movie.
He's over the top and just great. Yes.
The main issue, I think, with this movie, and I think it's probably why it didn't land with a lot of people, but it landed with kids, I feel like, because we were kids when we watched this.
Yep.
But it's two different movies. You have half the cast is in what I feel like a children's adventure film. And in that portion of it, you have Dennis Hopper, you have Michael Jeter playing the guy with the hot air balloon. You have Enola, who I feel like could have been the main character of a different movie.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have, so you have characters like that. You have the Peacemaker and Helen. I feel like they're all, well, Helen kind of switches back and forth, but you have Dennis Hopper and like some of these characters that are just in these goofy child adventure movie. And then you have Kevin Costner and the other half of Helen and, the guy who played,
Nord.
Yeah. Well, is he the one that wanted to, half an hour.
Oh, Kim Coates?
Yeah, Kim Coates. You had him,
paper guy?
Kevin Costner, the other half of Helen, to where they were in more of a serious sci-fi, this is what could happen, post-apocalyptic
Yeah.
story. And
Yeah, that's a good point.
because they dealt with more serious things as far as like what reality could be like, and then you had the other half, which was kind of like more adventure, upbeat,
Swashbuckling stuff,
swashbuckling stuff,
over the top stuff.
And you had those two kind of mixing quite a bit, and I think that's probably where this movie fell flat for most people in the '90s, if it did. But I feel like maybe kids kind of gravitated more towards this, to where if seeing this for the first time as an adult, I don't know if I would enjoy it as much. But it's been,
Almost 30 years.
Yeah, almost 30 years. It's probably been at least 10 to 15 years since the last time I saw this movie.
Oh, yeah, it's been a while.
And, it's still serviceable. It's still entertaining. Yeah. It's, other than the mix and tones, I don't think it definitely doesn't deserve the hate. I would like to think if I saw this for the first time as an adult, I don't think I would give it a 50% by any means. It would just be, that was a little weird, but it has some.
But it was a good time.
Yeah, it's fun and entertaining. It makes sense. It's not off the wall, batshit, just weird.
Doesn't drag.
Yeah, it doesn't drag.
Dude, the stunts are amazing.
Yeah,
they're really good.
Really nice set pieces. It's when the first explosion that happens after they attack the atoll, and it's the explosion that causes Dennis Hopper to lose his eye. That was probably the first realistic explosion I've seen in a long time in a movie, and I forgot. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot how they used to
do practical stuff.
They used to blow shit up, and
That's
it used to create a lot of black smoke, and it used to look good.
Yeah. Well, have you heard the stories of the production of this thing?
No.
They had to pick between Australia and off the coast of the Big Island of Hawaii. And they decided to pick Hawaii because at the time of filming, it was the summer in Hawaii and it was winter in Australia. So they didn't want to be out in open sea filming when it's 55 degrees with wind gusts. What they didn't account for was off the coast of Kona, some of the highest wind gusts on just on any given day. It's like 45 miles an hour. So they had issues with building the set and then keep maintaining the set in this specific location because they were trying to get 270 degrees of open sea so that when
they could view it and move the camera and
you don't see land or anything. And they only had specific times that they could film during the day because of that. Then they had the issue of people having to go to the bathroom. They had like porta potties set up like a couple miles back to where they came in, so they had to go back and forth to give people bathroom breaks. So they could only shoot like 6 scenes a day.
Oh yeah, because they have to take all that set out into the ocean to.
Yeah, and it just, I think Kevin Costner he shot for 160 days. Just,
I think the
set was destroyed.
The set was, I think, at one point when they had built it, it was the size of a stadium almost.
Oh boy.
Or it was, they said a quarter mile. Oh, like, I mean, it was just that massive of things. The other thing, I think Kevin Reynolds reached out to Steven Spielberg because Spielberg made Jaws.
Yeah.
And he shot on the water, and they wanted to shoot on the water as opposed to a tank. And when he reached out to Steven Spielberg, he said, do you have any like words of advice or like anything? What do you think we should keep in mind when we do this? And he said, don't shoot on the water. Was his only thing that he said. And of course, well, they didn't
the rest is history. Yeah. Fun fact, when they were building the atoll set, they didn't have enough. So they built it on location in Hawaii. They didn't have enough steel on Hawaii to complete the set. So they had to fly in steel from California. But in doing that, the plane was heavier. So the Kona airport had to be extended 25 feet in order for the plane to land, which is nuts. I mean, do you think nowadays Kevin Costner would have the pull to like modify an airport, like the star power to do that?
No.
Like the authorities in Hawaii are like, I'm not doing this. It's for Kevin Costner. Oh my God, Kevin Costner. Let's round up the people that we need to approve this, baby.
Let's make this happen.
Let's make it happen, man.
Our island's not long enough. That sounds like negative thinking to me.
Yeah. Just wild.
Yeah, that is cool to think about. To where, I mean, to be able to get these movies made at that time before you could just do it all in a computer, is that you literally had to make just massive amount of movement just to make things happen or to shoot something, and the logistics behind it.
Yep.
And everyone working together to be able to make that happen is amazing.
And I like that whole atoll scene a lot. I like the idea of, again, the world building. Like the camera pans around and there's people cutting up a shark. Okay, that's how they're eating. People are, I think there's a funeral at the time, like you mentioned, where they're recycling her body. You get to the store, there's like makeshift shelves everywhere that are empty, and they talk about the currency, and they're making a deal by weighing the dirt out and everything. Which makes sense. You would understand why dirt is so valuable because you can grow shit on it. The whole scene's just pretty cool.
Yeah, the sad thing is that you're not even on the atoll that much. Like that set is probably the largest set for that movie, and it's only in there for maybe 15, 20 minutes, I feel like. It's just at the very beginning, and then that's it. The rest of it's on boats.
It's an excuse to have a scene where the smokers attack, and we can have a 20-minute gunfight scene and people jumping from skis on ski jumps and
which the
wave
only
runners
other,
and all that good stuff.
The only other set I think would rival it would be that Exxon Valdez tanker, but that was, I think, just docked, or they built it up on and they just put green screens around it to kind of make it look like it was in the water.
No, they actually sank an Exxon Valdez oil tanker. That would have been awesome. James Cameron would be like, yeah, that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
We're building the replica.
But it still has oil. Nope, needs to be realistic. Got to have that oil in there, baby.
There's going to be oil in it, baby.
Break out the Dawn dish soap and start scrubbing some ducks. But
oh, boy.
But so directed by Kevin Reynolds.
Yep.
He also directed
Robin Hood, Prince of
Thieves.
Yep.
And I went because the person who did the music for this was James Newton Howard. And I thought, because rewatching this, I was like, the music feels so much like that 90s optimistic adventure, because it sounded like the music sounds very, very similar to Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
Yes.
But different composer. But I like to think Kevin Reynolds probably just enjoys that kind of music, I feel like, or Kevin Costner enjoys that kind of music, because it does sound very, very similar.
It's the same thing in Count of Monte Cristo, the other movie he made.
Yeah.
That's what he likes.
So I thought that was interesting and a nice touch, because just that that music I feel like kind of transitioned into the Pirates of the Caribbean theme a little bit. That kind of
yeah,
just super.
Kevin Costner swinging through,
optimistic. Yeah,
shooting harpoons at people with one arm. Yeah. Which, how many hero shots are in this movie? Jeez. Kevin Costner's like, it's been 15 minutes. I need my hero shot.
Yeah. I need to be cranking the ice cream on my boat to where that's
on top of the mast, pondering on the sunset, just brooding.
Which how he steers the boat is kind of like it's like a bicycle mechanism on there. Instead of using his feet, he just kind of moves his hand. I feel like they just kind of made that up.
You think so?
How does he steer? Well, we can just put a wheel on that. Yeah, but that's not exciting. What if I just cycle my hands really quickly on the pedals, and that would look good.
Yeah. Yeah, and when he dives into the water and he swims, I'm like, Jesus, he is cruising. I'm like, those web feet, man.
Yeah.
He's like jet propulsion.
That what kind of swim stroke is that? It's the
like when you dive into the water,
the butterfly.
And you like
the butterfly, I think, is when you just like start trying to swim like a mermaid or something. Yeah,
like you're swallowing your own tongue.
Yep.
Yeah.
And just shoots out of the water like a damn serpent,
like a dolphin.
Yes,
it's beautiful. But yeah, did you notice Jack Black? I forgot Jack Black was in this movie. He's the pilot.
I did not. I had heard before that he was in it, and he played the pilot of the airplane.
It's the airplane that
gets caught around.
Yeah, with the harpoon, and destroys the Mariner's catamaran.
I did not. I knew he was in this movie. I completely forgot until I went back and then did research after I watched it. I was like, oh, shit, I completely missed.
Yep, that's
Jack
him.
Black.
Apparently, in the quote-unquote Ulysses cut, Jack Black actually has a scene in it where he speaks dialogue and everything, but I've never seen it.
Neither have I, which if anyone's listening, if you know how to find the Ulysses cut, let us know.
Yeah, I'd like to watch it.
Because, if you don't know, the Ulysses cut is a longer version. So the Ulysses cut is kind of interesting because, like I said before, the original movie was about 3 hours long, and they had to cut out about 45 minutes of it, but for the theatrical run. And the part that they had cut out is stuff that has to do with the inhabitants' religion, kind of the mythology of dry land, and it just kind of gives more background and also kind of gives more of a reason for Kevin Costner to leave at the end when they do find dry land.
Yep.
To where it's not just, it doesn't move right.
Jay, it doesn't feel right.
It doesn't feel right. It's land sickness. You'll get used to it.
Oh man, of my own my own thoughts. I go where the water takes me.
I'm a seaman. I need to be out on the sea with my men by myself. Yeah. But it gives more reason, and in the Ulysses cut, his reasoning is he thinks that he knows where he could find more of his kind, and he was going to go tell them about the land and all that.
Which would be interesting. I'd like to.
Yeah, I would like to see what they added. So what had happened was when this movie was being shown on cable and for television, they had longer cuts. And what had happened is fans of this movie had recorded the longer TV versions, but the TV versions also had more censored. They didn't have the curse words in there. Probably didn't have Jan Triplehorn's body double's naked butt on there.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And to where, but fans of the show recorded it and then they edited together into the actual version of the movie. So they kind of made their own rough cut of an extended version to where.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
But once that happened, there's a publishing house that actually released, they call it the Ulysses cut because Kevin Costner's character gets named Ulysses at the end.
Right.
Based off of, I think it was like the Iliad and the Odyssey or something like that. And they kind of use that as a reference. So that's why they call it the Ulysses cut. But they released it. It's on Blu-ray and DVD, I think. If you can find it streaming, let us know in the comments.
Yeah, I couldn't find it on iTunes.
Or if you have seen it, let us know how it compares.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Compared to the...
I'm sure it's probably better.
Cut. I would imagine so. The only thing I could think of is like the pacing would just be... Like it would just feel like a super long movie. But if it rounds out the characters a little bit better and kind of gives them more motivation, then I feel like it'd probably be a decent payoff.
Because I think there's a few emotional beats that they don't necessarily hit right on the money there Because at first, the mariner just does not like the two women on his boat at all. Doesn't want them. He's even talking about like throwing them overboard and killing them. And then it's like, what, 25, 30 minutes later, he's like teaching the girl to swim, and he's like a father figure. So maybe if you kind of drag that open a little bit, a few scenes here or there to kind of build that relationship, it might have hit a little bit better.
Yeah, and even before that scene, because I put that down to where, so while the smokers are attacking the atoll, and Kevin Costner, or the mariner, is he's released from the cage, and he makes a deal with Helen, saying, because she said, if you leave, take us with you, or I'll let you out of the cage if you can take us with you.
Yeah.
He's like, sure. And
sure.
So, sure. And so he's out, and he's helping everyone escape. He looks over, and there's a shot. There is a peacemaker, the peacemaker of the atoll, and I just call him the peacekeeper. He's the sheriff guy that says.
By the way, I noticed he's the only clean one in the entire movie.
Yeah, nice hair.
Nice hair.
Yep.
He's obviously shampooed and conditioned it multiple times that day.
Blown dry it.
Everyone's dirty.
Yep.
Why is everyone dirty? There's water all around you.
Yep.
Just take a dip.
They don't like it. They hate baths. So anyways, he leaves from one of the rooms in the atoll, and there's a shot you see, and he has like a little girl with him that he's trying to save. And Kevin Costner shoots a harpoon that was going to attack the
peacemaker.
The peacemaker. So he helps him, even though he imprisoned him. And I thought that was, he was helping a child, so he helped. He kept him from getting hurt since he was helping a child.
Since he was helping a kid, yeah. Okay.
And then the next scene, he's like, I'm going to throw her overboard. Yeah. We're going to die out here. And I'm like, that's kind of... So I feel like there was something missing in between there, to where maybe they had already been on the boat a while, because you don't get a sense of how much time has passed,
right?
To where it could have been weeks. But the way it's kind of cut together, kind of feels like it's one right after the other.
Yeah, it's his motivations are a little uneven sometimes, because he says really, really kind of straight to the point, direct, not softening the blow shit like, you're all dying here, I gotta get out of here.
Yeah.
And then when she's offering her body to stay on the boat, he knows that she really doesn't want him, so he's like honorable, and he's like, I don't want to do this unless you want to do it. It's like, okay, so now you have character and morals, but before you're like, and fuck all you people.
And then the next scene, he sells her to get paper.
Yeah, so this is like, dude, what is going on with you? Yeah, so that's a little uneven, but I mean, that being said, it's still,
which maybe the Ulysses cut kind of expands on that.
Yeah, maybe it does.
But there's definitely like a lot more world building in the Ulysses cut that I've heard that I think would just be interesting to watch.
So anyway, the movie, spoiler alert, ends with them finding dry land. And please clarify this with me. I was trying to figure out how the hell they found this. They said the magnetic poles flipped. So now I have to point at when the sun is setting and then go the opposite direction.
Yeah, I didn't understand it either.
I was very confused.
And I like how they have latitude and longitude.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but I think he has a sextant.
Oh.
That he uses.
And he somehow knew how to use that.
Day time. I can't remember. I'm pretty sure it was in the day he had a sextant. And I'm like, did you use that with stars?
You're supposed to use it for the stars.
But I guess the sun is the biggest fucking star in the sky.
True. Brightest,
at least.
Yes. During the day.
During the day. At night, it's dim as shit.
Yeah. Don't even see it.
But yeah, I didn't understand. They kind of washed over that.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
But yeah, they said something about the magnetic poles flipping,
and they were like, oh, this is this language translates to numbers, and some ancient
like Chinese characters,
right? Some ancient language called latitude and longitude, and then that's it. They didn't dive into. They're like, okay, this is we don't know what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
So let's just skip past it.
So.
And then, so the movie kind of ends kind of abruptly like that, where they just save, what's her name, Nola? Enola. And then they're flying in the blimp all the way to dry land. They find dry land, and they find Enola's parents dead. They find their hut. So it's like,
and there's a couple huts. So it looked like there was
a community.
Yeah, a little community.
Yep. So they never expanded on why Enola was So did they know they were going to die, and Enola? They just kind of put Enola out at sea.
I think that's what they determined, because they had, when they found the huts, they walk in and they say something along the effect of, "Oh, they must have known that they were dying, because they had a bunch of other maps drawn on paper that either maybe there were revisions or something, and because there was a bunch of them on the nightstand or something near the bed."
Right.
And so you could see that they were trying to they probably made as many maps as possible to try and
Right. Because they had to have
others
tatted.
know.
Because Enola's what, like 9 or 10, 11?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, had tat her up when she was like what, 4 or 5.
Mm-hmm.
Mean. What were they doing? Just like
That'd be a bitch. Yeah, chiseling it.
Chiseling it.
Just got to stick
Like,
a
wow,
bamboo needle.
because their tattoo is like solid.
Yeah.
It's like there's
Really good.
like a 4 or 5-year-old. I can't imagine that would be very
Really
exciting.
get a grown person just pinning them down to where they can't move that much, and then
Right, they just did a sleeper hold.
Yep, sleeper hold.
And then she just passed out, and they just tortured her. And then what did they do? They just like, here you go, see,
Put her in
like in a bassinet, and she's just floating out there. Hopefully, someone comes along.
had dirt in there, because Helen said she had seen dirt darker and richer than what he had brought. Because he asked, he's like, "You believe in dry?" There's a line in there. Mariner asks her, "You believe in dry land? That's a myth." And she's like, "No, I've seen dirt darker and richer than the dirt you brought in Enola's basket." So the basket that she was in, that obviously it'd be. Here's a bunch of dirt, put the baby in there, so that way everyone can kind of put, which is kind of interesting, because the way they did that makes all sense in the world, to where tattoo on the back for the map, tattoo won't blow away.
Yeah, it's
where
true.
paper maps would, but you have a little mound on top of the world with an arrow pointing to it, like, oh, what's that? And then she's laying on a basket filled with dirt.
Right.
I mean, anyone not being able to know common language would be able to infer, especially if you lived in a water world, that, oh, this is a map to dry land.
Right.
Thing, to where, so it's like thinking like that, to where they thought a lot of things through in this very, very well and thoroughly. And it's uncommon, I feel like, nowadays, to where a lot of stuff they just kind of blow over or make it up as they go along. Or,
yeah. I still think, though, that that's a risk the parents say, well, I could either kill my kid now, or
she's either going to starve by herself here when we die,
right,
or we can,
or she'll die of sun exposure, because she has, like, I don't know, 5 days tops for someone to find her.
Better hope those currents are
exactly
tip top.
Well, and if it's only like 5 days tops, I mean, she probably drifted 2 miles from dry land.
Yeah.
It's like she could have been like 6 years old or 5 years old and be like, right over here is like we just gotta go this way, and then there's dry land. This tattoo thing is stupid. Like, it's right over there. I just came from over there.
Well, look at the smokers. I mean, they're not the brightest bunch. They're
Where did all the cigarettes come from, by the way? Was Exxon Valdez handing these out like candy? There's
sponsor of the film.
There was a giant closet full of marbles.
Probably, yeah.
There
maybe
might be.
Maybe that's where they came from.
Yeah.
Is the storage unit. I mean, didn't you guys have like the military rations of cigarettes and stuff?
No,
I mean, it's not wartime, and it wasn't World War II.
No. Well, by the time I was on the sub, they made smoking on ships, like, they nixed it.
Damn communists.
I know, commies. Those damn libs. They're precious.
What the hell's
lungs.
happening to this country?
They're
You can't smoke in a
lungs.
closed tube.
Yes, pressurized tube. Gotta smoke. Gotta let off some steam, baby. Yeah. Oh, and then when he goes down to show Jeanne Triplehorn, I already forget her character's name. Helen. Dryland. I'm like, oh, what luck to be floating above a city right now.
I know.
It's like, well, how are you?
Well, if you were in the Atlantic Ocean, you just keep going down,
keep going down
and down
and down. There's a trench. This is the bottom of the ocean. Because 75% of the world is covered in water. So 3 out of 4 times, if you're just floating around, you're not going to be above land. And then if you're above land, what chances are you're going to be above a city?
The entire thing. What I was thinking about that entire scene was how tiring it would be. I was like, God, he's got to be a strong fucking swimmer.
Yeah.
That air bubble, being able to bring that air bubble down all the, like it's a fucking submarine. It's like an individual submarine, but he did have counterweights on the bottom that I saw and stuff, so they actually thought about that. But I was just like, still.
Well,
that'd be a little tough to...
You saw the scene before where he was jetting through and jumping out of the water with just his...
Yeah.
He wasn't using his arms, it was all of his legs.
I'd be so tired, though.
I was totally waiting for them to swim past the Statue of Liberty.
Oh,
This is going to be New York or like the stupid donut shop in L.A.
Yeah.
That's always there.
Yeah. Wait, well, actually,
I think there was a donut shop.
They did do the donut shop. I think I saw it in there because I think I was like, I wonder where's... And then I was like, what the... They're in L.A.
Is that where it is?
They're right above L.A.
Yeah.
Which is weird. If they're above L.A. there, they pretty much circumnavigate the globe to get to Mount Everest. Because that's what you assume is the dry land portion.
I would think so. The highest place.
For you listeners, that the highest point of Earth is...
It's Mount Everest.
Mount Everest.
It sure is.
But you can tell it's fiction because
the more you know.
It's not trash covered all over the mountain when they find dry land. From the Sherpas and
there's
the
a bunch
shit,
of
all the
Coke
rich
bottles.
fucks going to like hike their way up to the riding a piggyback on their Sherpa all the way up to the peak there.
That's right. They do the selfie.
Yeah.
And then there's like 100 people waiting in line.
100 people waiting in line and
to take the
3
same
tons
selfie.
of trash that is just littering the entire fucking mountain.
What a fucking travesty. What a bunch of assholes.
I did it.
We can't have anything nice. Why is everything ruined by a bunch of people?
Just wait until commercial spaceflight happens. There's going to be so much shit on Mars and the moon. Just be candy wrappers everywhere.
Well, the first building going up is a Starbucks.
Thank God. I need my skinny vanilla lattes.
That's right. Oh, boy.
But the one of the things I noticed, though, homosexuals do not exist in this world. Now, I know you think it's a leap.
I think it's what?
A leap.
What's a leap?
That there's no homosexuals in this world. Because when they're at the atoll, Kevin Costner gets there, and you have the elders of the atoll community coming up to him and saying, hey, take our daughter, please.
Please, because we need... Right.
Yeah. So that way she can have a life or whatever. Like you're a stranger, but obviously you're a person of means because you have dirt and all this other stuff.
Yeah,
so they try to pawn off their daughter, and he denies the daughter.
He says no.
And what causes the shit to hit the fan is they say nobody stays out that long and turns down a woman.
You know what that means, Jay? He likes the peen.
Well, that's what I was saying. Because I'm sitting there watching it, and I was like, that's made sense in the 90s, but I turned to Christy, I was like, he could be gay.
Yeah.
What if he's gay? Like, I'd be like, no, I don't want another mouth to feed. Like, if I went to a, I don't know, if I was out by myself and someone's like, oh, here, take our son, I'd be like, no.
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm just going to go back on my boat. No one stays out that long and turns down a man. I'm like, well, maybe. Like,
yeah.
And I know it's just.
Well, he's just thinking about survival.
Yes.
He's like, there's these things called STDs. I don't know where your daughter's been around. I don't trust anything.
Especially with no one showering.
Right. Yeah. Like I do that, and then before you know it, 30 days from now, I'm just, weird spots growing everywhere, and I'm coughing all the time.
Nope.
Just burning sensation when I pee. I'm not having that.
That's right.
Man.
Dennis Hopper.
I didn't even think about that, though. That's a good point.
I know.
Interesting.
I'm ripping. That's a nitpick, though. But
Oh.
I don't know. I just thought it was funny. It's
a legit nitpick.
It's times of the 90s.
Yeah.
Kind of a thing to where.
Yeah.
It's just things that.
It is interesting because they're like blasphemy, sort of like. There was like a response of just like, he's probably gay. Grab your torches and pitchforks. Let's get him. That's a good point.
So, but yeah, like what leap in logic were they thinking? They're like, oh my God, what he turned down a woman, like because they don't say oh he's gay, we're gonna murder him because he's gay, and that's not the reason. They just go from a leap of logic to where we need to kill him because he turned down a woman. Like, what was the worst thing they could think of?
Yeah,
that was a logical next thing as far as stuff to do in your day.
Yeah.
To where, oh, here's a stranger, and he turned down my daughter. we better kill him because that just seems suspect.
Yeah.
And like, which they do make mention, like, oh, maybe he's a smoker spy or something like that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but I feel like if he would take the girl. Not that all bad guys are rapists.
And do you want to kill the smoker spy? Because if the smoker spy doesn't come back to report said smoker spy news, they're going to figure out that you did something to said smoker spy, and they'll come and attack you.
Oh, where'd we send the smoker spy? Then let's go that way because obviously something had happened, kind of a thing.
Right.
But maybe they were just kind of
taking
it with risk.
And it's a big world.
It is.
So how do you find these atolls that are just spread across a world full of water?
Well, you got airplanes.
Yes.
That still works.
That everybody knows how to fly, apparently.
Super easy.
Super easy. Can you imagine landing that thing on an oil refiner? A giant oil cargo ship?
No problem.
Easy peasy, right?
No problem.
No room for error, right? You can just guess.
Yeah.
It's just guess.
Fuel efficient.
That's fine.
All the instruments still work.
Oh boy.
It's great. The Dennis Hopper.
What about him?
Best thing in this movie.
He's great. He's over the top like Speed.
Yes.
I feel like he did Speed, and then he went right into this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Played the same character for the most part. Just a little more over the top.
I was getting a lot of... I feel like Kevin Reynolds loves goofy villains. Because I was getting a lot of Alan Rickman, Sheriff...
Rottingham vibes?
Yeah, Sheriff Nottingham
Is
vibes.
it Rottingham or Nottingham?
Nottingham.
Rottingham is... Is that Men in Tights? The Mel Brooks movie?
Maybe?
I don't know.
Sure.
It's Nottingham, though.
Rottingham sounds like the rap alternate version of the story.
It sounds like the Mel Brooks movie. I think it doesn't matter.
Anyways. But no, it made me remember of Alan Rickman and Sheriff Nottingham and Prince of Thieves, to where he was kind of like an over-the-top villain. Not so much cartoonish, but he did have funny lines. He was quippy, and the things he said was entertaining. It was just like a villain that you like to hate kind of a thing. And you didn't even really hate them that much. They were just entertaining and charismatic villains. That I guess you really don't have anymore. I mean, now it's more of you got to feel sorry for the villain kind of a thing.
Yeah, you got to sympathize with them, relate to them. That's another thing about this. The hero is actually a hero. He has a hero's journey, which nowadays Kevin Costner's character would be somewhat stupid, or they would make like an offhanded comment about his intelligence. He wouldn't be capable. He's like a dummy. Mm-hmm. He just makes stupid in this he's actually capable. He's very smart, calculated, intelligent.
Yep. Yeah, because
and then he grows as a person. Mm-hmm. He has an arc.
Yeah.
Remember those?
Yeah. That's nice.
He used to have those in movies. Nice little hero's journey.
Or there would be an instance to where Helen would go against his wishes and it would just work out for the best.
Yes.
To where then he would learn, oh, well, she has value then. Which he still does learn that. It's just in a different way.
Yeah.
To where in this movie, I like how she does her own thing, and to where she shoots the harpoon with the plane. And
he's like, no.
He's like, don't do that. And she like shoots it, and he like yells at her. He's like, the hell are you doing? He's like, why'd you do that? She's like, you didn't give me much choice.
Yeah.
And which makes sense.
It does.
Yeah. It doesn't. Not everything has to work out for every single character.
Right.
It's nice that characters can make mistakes without diminishing them as a human.
Right.
Or as a person.
Or if a woman makes a choice in a movie, it's not automatically the correct choice.
Correct.
It's fine, you know?
And if a man makes a choice in the movie, it's not automatically the dumbest fucking thing in the world.
Yes.
Like, sometimes it works out. Or, oh, wow, experience actually means something in this world, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's a good movie.
No, yeah. Dennis Hopper is fantastic. Like, his lines in it are great.
Oh, yeah.
Here,
let's play one of those lines.
all right. Yeah.
It's my favorite line in the movie, by the way.
You know, I thought you were stupid, friend. But I underestimated you. You were a total freaking retard.
Of course, that would be your favorite.
Well, this is back in a time when you could say that word. I just like his laugh after he said it, because he delivered it like a 12-year-old boy would deliver it. So it makes me laugh.
Yeah. He says freaking, which they already used the fuck.
Yes,
in
earlier.
The movie earlier on, in this movie's PG-13, so you can only get one non-sexual fuck in a movie.
Yes. Well, and if you look at the scene, he's gonna say fuck. He's like,
Yeah,
they
probably had to pick in the editing bay, like
Yes.
which.
Like he's gonna emphasize that F with the behind it, but then they edit it quickly away. Which, by the way, that scene where he's walking on the deck to confront, was it Dragon?
Something like that. Yeah.
What's his damn it? Deacon. Jeez, I'm an idiot. Deacon. I just watched this last night. I'm getting old and stupid. I can't remember things anymore.
Maybe that's the other reason why people don't like this, because they couldn't really remember the names. It's like Avatar of the 90s. Where no one remembers anyone's name.
That's right. But when the Mariner's on the deck and confronting Deacon, I'm like, weren't there just like 1,000 people on that deck? Why wouldn't they just come up, like sound the alarm, come up on the deck and like confront the Mariner and just overpower him?
Because the script says that they gotta blow it up, and
all right, I know, but
it's 90s,
and it's not epic and action packed, and you can't do the zip line scene where
boring.
Where the Deacon's taking off on the plane, and it's like, hey, we need another hero shot, guys. We need Kevin Costner to zip line on some things.
See, that's a YouTube channel that any of you listeners out there who want to make a lot of money, create a movie YouTube channel, and this is what the point of it's going to be. Instead of like, I think there's one already called How It Should Have Ended. It's like cartoon.
Oh, yeah.
To where you could do a different one. Similar kind of aspect, but you just take movies to where it had these bombastic endings to where, no, you just have a realistic ending. To where... Which I guess maybe that's how it should have ended anyways. To where, we just bum rush him. End of movie.
Yeah.
Or Kevin Costner just throws him over the boat. Just realistic endings.
Yeah, really. And then the
logical endings of movies.
And then the narration comes in. Then they both died. No one found dry land. The end. The hero's music plays. Yeah. I get it. I get why they wouldn't do something like that, because it wouldn't be very entertaining.
It's definitely not very cinematic.
No, definitely not. But I enjoy Waterworld a lot. I liked watching it again. I think my boys would like it. If they're a little bit older, they might actually enjoy it.
Yeah, and I feel like this could have gotten a lot of, maybe just because pirates in the water or something. I mean, I felt Hook vibes on this. Like, I feel like it should have been a kid's adventure film.
Yeah.
In this,
you're absolutely right.
I mean, just it feels, the best parts of this feel cartoony. It feels like super cinematic, and it's just the world that they live in is just batshit enough to where it would work in a fantasy adventure sci-fi-ish movie, as opposed to having a serious drama about a world like this after global warming or something like that. To where
I think part of that is aided by Dennis Hopper's over the top, like, hammy performance.
Yeah.
He definitely tilts it the other way, for sure. He eats up every scene he's in. Like he was King Koopa in the Super Mario Brothers movie, which is the same character as this movie for the most part.
Yeah.
And then obviously Speed was in between the two, so I don't know. He was just on a roll of this is what I'm playing from now on.
And Kevin Costner's fine in this. I really enjoy Kevin Costner in movies. I don't think he's the best actor as far as range.
He didn't have much to do.
Yeah, there's not. I mean, other than him looking glum or like serious or trying to be the awkward hero. Yeah, there's not much for him to do in this movie. I think for his acting, he's very good at everyday character, like everyday man kind of characters. So like Tin Cup and Bull Durham and
Field of Dreams,
and just very charismatic everyday man kind of characters. To where being a badass is it works in Yellowstone, it works in
Untouchables.
Untouchables, and even then he was kind of, I mean, he wasn't like an over-the-top badass in that. He was just a smart character, and he's still kind of that everyday man. But like some of the movies that, like Open Range, he's worked well for him, but he directed himself in that. But I think maybe just this movie, I feel like maybe he was, and maybe the kind of the rift between Kevin Reynolds and Kevin Costner in this is maybe because Kevin Costner wanted a more serious movie. Kevin Reynolds wanted something that was more fun.
Yeah.
Kind of.
I think that's what they were arguing about.
And because Kevin Costner strikes me as someone who's really likes epics. And I mean, because he does Open Range, he does The Postman, he does Dances with Wolves,
Wyatt Earp,
Robin Hood, Wyatt Earp, and to where he likes to play like serious or like profound roles, kind of a thing, to where, or kind of maybe took himself a little too seriously, at least during this time. Which, I mean, you're the biggest star in the world at the time, so why not? I understand.
Didn't Cutthroat Island come out the same year, 95?
Was that 95?
Pretty sure
or was
it did.
94?
I'm pretty sure it did.
Let's take a look.
95.
95.
It did. I don't know. Maybe there was like fatigue, like epic. Because then Braveheart came out in 95 too. That was another 3-hour.
Jesus. Yeah.
95 was the year of
long movies.
Yeah, this was definitely like because I think Apollo 13 came out this year too. This was like when movies started, like people started wanting, because obviously after Jurassic Park, like people started wanting CG a little bit more,
or at least they started going that direction.
Yeah, going that direction.
Like the last gasp of practical effects.
Yeah,
I mean, they had some green screen stuff in here. There was a couple of shots that are computer generated, like the kite that gets shot out of the boat.
Yeah.
To kind of give it a little boost that expands out. That was computer
and
graphics.
The shark, obviously.
And the shark and the
scene underwater with the cities.
Yeah. Some of that stuff that they used it for, but yeah, so a lot of practical effects, which is another good reason to watch this.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't see real explosions.
Well, you're not going to get a $200 million budget movie with just practical effects. Yeah.
Yeah, because at the time, this was the most expensive movie ever made.
Until Titanic came out, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Kevin Costner and Jeanne Tripplehorn and the girl almost died.
Yeah, it was like the first day or like first week or something.
Almost drowned.
Yeah.
Apparently, Costner got caught on one of the sails, and it took him out like a mile out at sea. They had to go get him, and at the time he was like underwater, and they had to like give him CPR. Like he almost died.
Jesus,
it's crazy. Could you imagine?
I like this movie. I do not like it enough that I think it's worth anyone dying. But
No,
yeah. But yeah, that definitely wouldn't want to be my last.
No.
Like his crow.
The biggest,
oh, Kevin Costner, what else could have you done? Oh, but he gave us the last bit of masterpiece of Waterworld.
Waterworld. Yeah. How'd your dad die? He's filming Waterworld.
Jesus, what a waste.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not a masterpiece by any means, but it is also it's very well done.
Yeah.
I feel. I mean, it's problems in tone and it missed the mark slightly, but I think it's
good.
It's really good.
It is. It's underrated and it gets shit on unnecessarily.
It does. And I think most of the people say it's bad because other people say it's bad.
Right.
And they really can't pick apart. I mean, like I said, the biggest thing, mismanagement of tone, and you probably need a little bit more background in some of the characters, or at least for some of the emotional beats. But
yeah,
I mean, other than that, it's very well done. It's not like it was done cheaply. It's not like they rushed through an idea that wasn't fully formed. It was definitely a fully formed idea. It just misfired slightly, I think.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think it's definitely still worth a watch.
It's definitely nostalgia bait for me. I like movies like this because it reminds me of, my childhood. Just this type of movie, this adventure movie, like Willow.
Yeah.
Or Robin Hood's another. I mean, Kevin Reynolds can make a good adventure movie. Like I said, he did The Count of Monte Cristo years later, which is one of my favorite adventure movies.
And there's
we might have to do a podcast on I love that movie.
I've never seen it.
You would love it. That's a great movie.
But there's just not a lot of adventure movies out there anymore.
No.
I mean the last ones I could think of was like The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, there you go.
But I mean, those are like true adventure. Like you're going on a journey. There's a destination, and I mean, all that stuff to where you just don't have those.
Yeah, Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
The Goonies.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yep. So.
All right, Jay.
Well, anything else?
No, Jay.
All right.
I'm good.
Well, join us next time for a very special episode.
Yes.
As we will be interviewing independent filmmaker Colin Shifley.
Yes, we will.
So
we're going places, Jay.
Yeah, we are. We are.
Got people to know what they're talking about.
Moving on up. So he is the director of 2014's Animals, which can be found on Pluto TV or Tubi for streaming. 2018's All Creatures Here Below, which it can also be found on Tubi or Hulu. And 2021's Die in a Gunfight, which can be streamed on Hulu or Prime at the time of this recording. So if you want to watch, so those are the three independent films that he directed. If you want to catch up on those before our next episode, we're probably going to cover those films at some point in the interview, but we're also going to talk to him about the business, how he got his start, some of the challenges that independent filmmakers face. So it's not going to be just his filmography, although we will probably touch on that, maybe talk about some specifics. But we're going to talk about how he got started, how you could get started if you have an interest in being an independent filmmaker, some of the jobs or what you kind of have to go through, what you have to put up with and shit.
Yeah.
So, or what his job's like. I mean, what was it everything he thought of as far as him wanting to do that? But so
does he regret it?
Yeah. Do you regret it? Do you wish you were?
Do you wish you were doing something else?
Yeah. Like, I really wanted to be an accountant. Like, numbers just make sense to me.
Yeah. I really wanted to design software.
But so that's our next episode, Colin Shifley interview. So looking forward to that. And as always, you can comment on our episodes and write to our email at acastwithnoname.com. Or please, if you enjoy the show, please rate us or leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify to help our show up in more people's feeds and searches and all that good stuff. So, but yeah, that's next time. So until next time, Matt.
Until next time, Jay.